I just want to play around with the new animal husbandry and fermentation that update number 4 have brought to Going Medieval. So I maxed the difficulty out, will be playing without pausing, and modded the game to ensure raiders don't run off until they're thoroughly defeated. This challenge is going to require interesting strategies and unique adaptations. Let's meet the cast. I made everyone short because it looks funny. It's even better once we actually get into the game. There's Willem the chef and animal expert, Bergwena the botanist, and Mabel the builder and soldier. After loading into the map, I immediately tell everyone to start chopping trees right away. The timer to the next raid is always ticking down. Hauling might be a bit hard with their tiny legs. The first building is going to go near the nearby ridge. Willem hauls, Mabel builds, and Wena wants to harvest mushrooms and trees. A campfire goes in for cooking in what will be our kitchen. A stockpile for food follows suit until a cellar goes in the nearish future. I'll tell Willem Baker to start making meals with what we do have. He's used to working in kitchens. Most were much nicer than this, but the family business insisted on staples for the common man. No creativity, no drive. He left them behind to pursue his own culinary path. Willem now dreams of walking through an orchard neath the morning sun on his way to make exquisite treats, craft lavish meals, and to care for the animals that give him the milk, cream, eggs, and more for everything he creates. And we're gonna give him that. The second building goes in against the cliff face. While it's going up, the first meals come out. Now that animals can eat these, it's important to keep them inside if you don't want any nearby foxes mooching off of you. I set a few tiles to get mined out near the kitchen for what will be a cellar. Then I add some beds into this second building as the sun starts to set. I'll go ahead and finish off this multi-purpose room with some walls on the backside and a basic research table that lets us start unlocking technologies. All of that is going to give Mabel a lot of work to do though. Oh, Mabel trapped herself and made it my problem. Alright, let's get her out of there. Night falls as the research table goes in, unlocking the technology tree and letting us start on that tomorrow morning. A roof and this little lean-to over our stored goods to prevent decay can also go in then. The sun rises and Mabel gets even more work queued up. Shrines for religious needs, and a backgammon table to keep everyone entertained. With the rest of the room finished, Mabel can have another go at this. Round 2, fight. Maybe Mabel Mustel just wants to be trapped. Maybe she wants Bergwena to save her from all this. They're childhood friends, so the relationship has been tense as of late. Mabel is as friendly as they come, but she's also reserved and quiet. Putting feelings into words is difficult, and that desire to make everyone feel better all the time makes the daunting task of confronting the divide between her and her best friend borderline impossible. Mabel dreams of peace and safety brought by a castle, not just for herself, but for every kind soul out there. On the off chance that this wordless cry for help might ease their troubles, I'll give it a chance. Bergwena isn't nearly the builder that Mabel is, but she can manage a staircase up from this little makeshift prison. Once Mabel is free, she can thank her friend and get back to work. Hopefully this does something for them. The dark times ahead are best handled with a friend at your side. Once that awning is in, we can do something extremely important. Making sure it doesn't look awful. Kind of, if you squint a lot. With our basic needs taken care of, I can start tending to the animals. Wild ones get a butchering table, while our cute chickens get a nice pen that'll keep them safe, productive, and reproductive. They'll also get a nice little shack to give them some shelter from the sun. Even without the pen finished, they find that roof to sleep beneath. The enclosure finishes being built the next morning, which means I can set it to only allow chickens, and Willem can start roping them over. This is going to be their new home, which means they'll need some troughs to eat hay out of. The rain is a good reminder to roof off our kitchen because, yeah, watered down mushroom stew just seems nasty. I'll use the first unlocked technology, beams, to help build the cellar. Then the second technology, agriculture, to start planting things that'll eventually fill it up. Cabbages go in first. I'll set these to not be harvested until they've gone to seed, so that we have all the seeds we'll ever need in the future. A flax field and tree saplings can go in next. It's plenty of work for Bergwena Boziet to handle, but she couldn't be happier about it. She's always preferred dirtying her hands beneath the bright sun and watching her labor bear fruit, or vegetables as it were, over the course of the season. She was set to be married off into a family of smithers and work their forges through her days. But in the end, she confided in her best friend and decided that she'd rather live a life of poverty or risk than a life of misery. She ran away, and her friend joined her. Now Bergwena dreams of spending every waking second tending the magnificent garden befitting a castle or a manor. Raw food and seeds will go into the cellar, while cooked meals go in the dining area. Although you want your cellar to avoid having floors, since they cause it to warm up a little, it's necessary for now to avoid food decaying. I'll fix that once I unlock a couple more technologies and put in shelves. As it is, this will keep things fresh until it's much hotter out. The first trader arrives to sell me barley, which I'll plant for eventual hay and for booze. I tried a dozen seeds before ultimately choosing this one, but I only looked at the map topography. While checking where to put in my defenses, I noticed this yellowish glint. Yep, our base happens to be near natural gold and silver on the surface. That's really crazy. I've never even seen a gold vein, and I've never seen either on the surface. Let's make sure to put that inside our walls. The first one goes in so that we can start protecting ourselves. Stairs down to the lower level get mined out at our back, and then another wall goes in on the other side. Each side gets a door and it'll be good to go, although that'll take a lot of wood and a lot of time. Mabel gets on it, though she will need to mine out a bit more in our cellar first. It's a little too warm throughout the day. Since thermal insulation works off of surface area, mining it like this should help keep things cooler. The barley will take a while, and I want to play with the new fermentation system now, so I'll plant a bunch of red currants to make into fermenting fruit juice in the near future. The defensive walls finish the next morning, though these are far from what the final defenses will be. I want to eventually bridge over to the landmass near the shared bedroom, turn it into an island by mining out the natural ramps, then turn what we have now into a castle stronghold. But that's an episode 3 or 5 kind of thing. For now, actual defenses can start going in. That starts with stairs on either side so an archer's platform can go in on the high ground. It's best to put these forward so that our bowmen can fire back on enemies funneling into the choke point without any cover obstructing their lines of fire. Oh, good timing on those defenses. Theodoric arrives. The man is a bloodthirsty marshal, which actually involves a lot of medicine and not very much combat. He's also a talented miner and cook, although he takes no joy from it. He's infirm and a bit of a whiner, which might explain why he was ran out of a count's castle after making a single medicinal mistake on a minor member of the court. He told a drunken tale at an inn some days away that made a nearby band of raiders believe they could fetch a hearty ransom for the genius doctor, and he's been running ever since. Although he explains his dreams very differently, the man wants to live a life of idle luxury while loafing around all day and handling the odd medicinal issue that he thinks is worth his time. It's just a coincidence that nothing ever is. The archer's nest gets more flooring so Merlans can go in on either side. The raiders arrive so everyone gets into position. I 1000% made the right call with making everyone short. Endless source of laughter, 11 out of 10 would recommend making your colonists struggle to see above waist-high walls. The whiny Theodoric refuses to lift a weapon to help, mostly because we don't have a fourth one for him to actually use. Our archers make quick work of their lone bowmen thanks to high ground and cover, then turn around and unload on the soldiers beating at our walls. It takes a while, and it's not an honorable fight, but it's a win for us all the same. Raids are going to get much harder soon enough. With that done, I'll unlock furniture, haul the enemy's corpses away from the walls, and take their bloodstained gear inside. I want to break most of it down and use some of the rest eventually. And since a good victory deserves a good drink, I'll also unlock fermenting and put the workstation in behind our kitchen. That's going to take a while though. For now, our settlers can unwind, celebrate, and get to know the newcomer while uncomfortably sober. Doubly so when Theodoric starts talking. Even the ever-friendly Mabel struggles to give him a friendly smile. A little awning goes in to protect the brewing station from the rain, while some of the spare red currants we have go to the first batch of what will eventually be red wine. The fermenting fruit juice will take a full season above 50 degrees Fahrenheit, but only a few days between 40 and 50. I want to put this somewhere that's the right temperature to ferment, and this little mini cellar that Mabel trapped herself in is perfect for it. Here, it can finish fermenting in just a few days. Although Mabel could have handled hauling this over on her own, she got Burgwinter to stop gardening for just long enough to help. And what better place to drink booze than at a library? One starts going in on the far side of our encampment. It'll be near the trees and is a nice place to work. Although it is a little bit of a walk from everything else, the bustle of a village is no place for research. Unlocking decorative structures means that we can put in bookshelves, which will make it an official library, and give the research tables inside a buff to their production speed. With a fourth colonist here, the shared bedroom is getting a little too crowded. They deserve their own private bedrooms that are still a little too crowded. It is twice the bare minimum though, so I get good guide points for designing these. I'll also get working on metalworking, which starts with a kiln to fire clay into bricks to eventually turn into a forge. I want to tuck small chapels into the space near the pens and kitchen. The berry bushes that have naturally grown there need to go, but that's fine. I've got plenty planted already. After that, walls go in and the shrines go over. With the first linen harvest coming up, our workshop can also start to go in. Woo, chickens. You have no idea how happy this update makes me. I was so sad when I originally got into this game and realized I couldn't have exactly this for my villagers. Now all I need is a barn for cows and goats, and summer arrives. We're in a pretty good place for our first season. I'll go ahead and unlock smelting furnaces and put a couple in near the entrance to start making metal ingots. A new settler is here. Clement is wounded but alive, and he doesn't have a raid at his back. The man is dainty and sluggardly, but he's a fantastic miner even if he hates it. The man likes little, and his lazy demeanor means that he's been kicked out as often as he's chosen to wander on before it can happen. Clement dreams not of some external goal like an orchard or resilient manor, but of simply dreaming again. When pressed on what he'd do to earn his meals, the man half-heartedly mumbled out something about metalworking if he has to. Is it fate that he comes just as the furnaces go in? A subconscious thought after they caught his eye while he wandered past the walls? Well, whatever the case, they say the gut knows best. And though he doesn't yet realize it, that ghost of a passion for the skill can be kindled into a mastery he can be proud of in time. An advancing society calls for more advanced research tables. Not advanced research tables, which are something else entirely, but regular research tables that are more advanced than Oh, that requires an intellectual skill of 15. Theodric isn't too far off, but he isn't there yet. Despite closing in on metalworking, I want to unlock wooden weapons. I need more short bows, and I want to start training my carpenter up so that they can eventually make high quality crossbows. Bergwina should handle this, but she's so busy gardening that I'm not sure she'll get around to it for quite a long time. That might be sort of a winter thing for her. I also want to put down clay brick paths to speed people up as they go through the village. Some of the fields get adjusted to make room for them before Mabel puts it all in. A merchant caravan arrives, and it's a doozy, but in a good way. They bring a high quality heavy crossbow that's the best weapon we're gonna have for a long time, some more barley to plant, and then, perhaps best of all, some apple saplings. There aren't enough for an orchard just yet, but it's still enough to put a wide smile on Willem's face and fill his voice with so much infectious cheer that it puts everyone in good spirits, even Theodric. I think the backgammon tables on this cliff could use a little decoration. Who doesn't want to play the only entertaining thing in existence beneath the shade of beautiful trees while the sizzling scent of dinner wafts over from the nearby kitchen? That tranquility is a hint of the stability that Mabel wants. The first batches of cabbage seeds and barley are coming out, and between that and what we just bought, the fields are going to be full, and so will the cellar. I unlock preservation, which allows me to build shelves. Each of these will store 3 piles worth of goods on one spot, making it all much more space efficient, and mean that I can get rid of the floors. Doing that will ensure that the temperature is low enough that food doesn't go bad year round. Though Clement wasn't being followed, raiders are still happy to attack us, although this band doesn't have a single archer. That should make for an easy fight, totally not jinxing it. I'm going to leave regular bows in their hands, instead of equipping Willem with the heavy crossbow we just bought. It's much worse for training, since you get a flat amount of experience per shot and per hit, regardless of if they're shooting a fast short bow or a slow crossbow. This totally is not a justification of me forgetting about it that I'm writing in after the fact. The raiders struggle to gain a foothold, while our archers pick them off until enough have died that the survivors flee. They give us some decent armor and a bunch of weapons, most of which I'll break down for experience and for materials, but this is the last easy raid we're going to have. Theodric hits an intellectual skill of 15, which means that he'll be able to make red books and unlock higher tiers of technology for us. Although we don't need any particular skill to get more chickens. More chickens are good. Nearby trees are also good. Those saplings we planted so long ago are ready to be harvested, although a heat wave will make that part more difficult. I'll add to the heat by unlocking forges and blacksmithing. This is where we're going to work metal once we've got a talented enough smith. Clement still isn't there just yet, although he is just barely starting to not lament waking up in the morning. The rapid growth that comes as inexperience is shed is rewarding for anyone. Discovering that you can learn to do something you always thought was locked away from you is a special moment. He still assumes that he'll soon hit a plateau, still counting down the time until the other villagers discover he's hopeless and kick him out. His thoughts are so twisted that he thinks not that he might not be hopeless, but that the other villagers might not discover it. Once that's in, Clement can start breaking down gear in addition to making metal ingots for smithing experience. Hopefully seeing how that armor is made will help him make some of his own. Though I do want to keep some of the better armor that our enemies dropped, another new settler comes with brand new problems. Not only does William have a similar name to Willem, basically guaranteeing I'll mix them up at some point, but he's followed by a huge raid that includes trebuchets. Those things mess a base up. You know, I probably should have led with that and not the name thing. We'll still help him. His brawny build and bloodlust might have drawn a lesser man to raiding or violence, but he rose above it. When that urge for visceral bloodshed boils up inside him, He lifts a pickaxe and not a great axe. When tired from exertion, he dedicates himself to scrolls and books. He's one of the most well-read men in all the land, and wants nothing more than to preside over the most renowned library in the world. None of the current residents understand what he's talking about when he mentions the Library of Alexandria, but he's happy to spend all night gushing about its marvel. It's too lofty of an ambition for a peasant, and he knows it. But what is life about if not dreaming too big? He'll take over research and potentially kick Theodoric out of the library entirely. I haven't decided if I want 2 full-time researchers just yet. Let's make sure both survive the raid before deciding. Fall arrives before the raiders fall upon us. Dubious booze comes too. Charming. I'm not sure if I did something wrong. I really need to play around more with booze and fermentation, but that's a next episode kind of thing. For now, I'm gonna have everyone take a nap. I want them fresh and alert when the raid hits in the middle of the night. After they get some sleep, I'll start the second part of my plan. I'm sending a colonist to each of the far corners of the map to handle trebuchets. I don't know where the raid will spawn in. Raids take us a long time to kill, and trebuchet shots could hit colonists or ruin our defenses by destroying choke points. No matter what, I need to minimize that risk, and the only way to do that is to venture out and attack the trebuchets. They're here, and in a really good spot for us. Willem, our strongest fighter who has the best gear, is the one who's going to take on the 3 trebuchets alone. Everyone else returns to the base and to our safety. Those that are nearby can take the time to throw on some gear that's only a little bloody. The attack starts as Willem gets into position. Darkness is perfect for sneaking behind them to attack the exposed weapons, while the raiding party goes on their way to the village. The door holds up while Mabel hides behind it, ready to jump anyone who makes it through. Archers start unloading on them. Without pausing, I have to hop between the front gate and Willem while he gets into position for his mission. 1 shot destroys the trebuchet, 2 take out the operator. He moves on to the next target. An anguish-laden scream suddenly hits his ears, making him miss his shot against the easy target. Feminine. Familiar. The rain makes it hard to tell more. Who was that? What happened? He had an important mission, yeah. Could he have been faster? Could he have left them better gear to defend themselves with and made do with less? The rain makes running through the muddy ground on the way back difficult, but he manages. His heart's racing. The raiders at the gate are stymied. They don't understand why their trebuchets have stopped firing overhead. They're starting to think that William isn't worth it. Willem pincers in from behind to shoot them down, though raiders turn to chase him as he arrives. He's forced to run instead of firing. It's going to be close. The man just barely manages to outrun them on the way back to the gates. The heavy cloud cover above and the torrent of rain make it difficult to see whose corpses he's sprinting past as he nears, but it doesn't matter. All it takes is one glance at the breached front gate for pieces to slide into place. That scream prepared him for the worst, but nothing stops his stomach from dropping. Though we'd only known the pair for half a year, it didn't take long to find out how close Winna and Mabel were. The cold autumn morning bites at their fingers and makes it hard to aim. Though they've been firing for hours, burning rage ensures that there's always enough strength left to pull on the bowstring one more time. Finally, the raiders realize how few of them are left. They turn to retreat, prompting Winna to abandon the safety of the walls, not to tend to her dead friend's corpse, but to try and hunt more down. The rain makes it impossible to track the trail of blood. Only as adrenaline starts to fade does she realize she's been hobbling from a wound the entire time. Eventually, she has to turn back and stumble to our walls. The rain clears soon after. Wet ground is hard to dig in, but no amount of exhaustion will stop a grave from being built. The next episode will start with a funeral. I hope you've enjoyed this. I'm loving this game even more this update, and weaving some story into the video has been a lot of fun. What do you think? Too much? Do you want to see more? If you've enjoyed this, consider dropping the video a like and subbing to make sure you get to see how the once naive villagers change in the wake of this loss next episode.